forget to get it going. And we're welcoming people in for the next few minutes before we start at top of the hour. We also have a chat going in case you want to communicate with anybody within the group. I'm assuming that everybody by now knows how to use Zoom and knows the features and how to connect with other people. Ah, good to see you, Hawk. Very nice to have you here. Your father and COO may be joining us as well.
Yeah, that they said they were going to be on it because they asked me if I was going to be on it.
Great. I haven't seen them come in yet.
No, I haven't either.
All right. Well, I welcome you to this celebration of Connie's life. Connie attended a Quaker meeting in Massachusetts for quite a while and considered herself to be a Quaker. So I thought I would provide you with a framework for how we can have this event as people are signing in and we can identify some family members. I see the comment in the chat. As a Quaker celebration of life, we believe that God endows every human being with a measure of the divine spirit, and our manner of worship is an outgrowth of this belief. We gather in quiet assemblies, mindful of the words, "Be still and know that I am God." This is a memorial service for Connie. In essence, it becomes a meeting for worship. We come together in reverent silence with a desire to draw nearer to the Spirit of God and to listen to the voice of God that dwells in each of us. It's a time of thankfulness for Connie's life and for reflection on the value of her life as it relates to the lives of all of us. All present share equally in this service. We sit quietly, allowing time for each person to center and settle in. And then you may be moved to speak, to share some memory or story about Connie's life and some meaning that her involvement, the way that she touched your life affected you. We leave reflective moments of silence after each person has spoken to allow that message to settle in. The responsibility for the spiritual depth of this memorial meeting rests with each attender. You're under no obligation to say anything. You may maintain your silence throughout this event. And we want to provide a quiet respectful, and loving atmosphere to be able to share memories about Connie. We believe that as Quakers, that the divine presence comes to each person who is here and will be a source of strength after leaving this celebratory meeting. There was a request to identify family members. If you are in Connie's immediate family, let's start with Glenn and have him introduce himself.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
All right. Well, I'm Glenn Weiser. I'm Connie's brother. Me and Doug were the youngest. We were twins. Doug passed away in 2012. And I was also with Connie when she passed away in the emergency room of Bay State Wing Hospital in Massachusetts, in Palmer. So it still has a very immediate effect on me. Connie was the eldest sister. Pat is the middle sister. There was Connie, the oldest, born in 1945. Pat was born in 1948. And Douglas and I were born in 1952. So Connie was the oldest. And I think my earliest memories of her were basically that she always had her nose in a book. This is what we always said about Connie. Connie's a bookworm. She's always got her nose in a book. And that never really stopped. You know, she has hundreds of books in her mobile home. You know, her Kindle was absolutely stuffed with hundreds of books. She read everything of any topic, history, biography, nonfiction, fiction, all with insatiable appetite. And she was easily the most well-read person that I ever knew. And she could talk about anything, and she was a delight to talk to because she could go on about anything, and she would engage about just about any subject. There didn't seem to be anything that she wasn't curious about. So I'm really going to miss her. It kind of seems that there's a void, like a light's gone out. And, you know, wherever she is now, I hope she's at peace. The one thing that the Bible says, especially in the Old Testament, is that, you know, they would talk about the death of a prophet, and they would say, he became old and full of days and was gathered up unto his people. So you might take the point of view that, you know, that Connie is now with her departed relatives on the other side. It's comforting to think that, you know, that's what I would like to believe. So with that, I yield to the next speaker.
No, we're on. I can't figure out how to. They don't know we're on. They don't know we're on.
Pat, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Thank you. That is a rookie mistake. Hawk, would you like to unmute yourself and say something as her son? And if you're ready to talk, fine. If not, that's okay too.
I'll do my best. Yeah, I'm Hawk, Connie's son. Yeah, it's been super hard, being long distance and not getting to be there while she was going through everything. Of course, we talked every day, from the first time that she had the first heart attack and was in the hospital. I pretty much had a
Can't get in.
day by day or sometimes hour by hour update on how she was doing. And So it was pretty amazing to be that in touch with her. I don't have a ton of early memories. It's kind of funny. The only memory that I can really remember from my childhood was being in New York and being chased by somebody that was trying to mug my mom. And I just remember just don't look back and just run as fast as you can. It's pretty scary, but anyway, that's one of my only childhood memories of being with Connie. Because then we ended up being separated for several years. I think we were reunited when I was, I think 25 or 26 years old, and I'm getting ready to turn 59. So we've been in contact with each other for many years, and definitely super close. I have a huge void in my life for sure. She was definitely one of the number one people that I could talk to on a regular basis. And I mean, she knew more about me and I knew more about her than probably anybody else in the world. But yeah, definitely still having a hard time. It gets a little easier every day, but it's been super hard. Obviously, this is super hard to do, but yeah, I hope she's in a better place for sure. I got to talk to her 24 hours before she died, and it was the happiest that she sounded during the entire time that she was struggling with everything. She was finally back home and got to see her cats and had a good night's sleep, and she sounded amazing. You know, we talked about talking the next day and was super excited for her to be home, and I thought we were out of the woods and she was going to be okay, but I got the call from Glenn the next morning that she had been found on the floor and she probably wasn't going to make it. And of course, it was pretty devastating, and called back a couple hours later to say that she had passed. And yeah, just been working through that ever since. I don't really know what else to say. I'm going to miss her. I already miss her so much. So it's really all I can say right now. I need to try to compose myself. So
Thank you, Hawk. Connie was my sister, my friend, my employee. The last words that we had were very loving. She told me she loved me, and I told her I loved her. We shared a bedroom growing up. I remember vividly, I got a box of chocolate one time, and Connie wanted pieces, and I told her that she could have a piece, but she had to memorize all the ingredients on the box and say them all before she would get a piece. And that was a powerful incentive. She did indeed memorize all the ingredients, and I doled them out. And for years, she could spout out those ingredients long after the box was in the landfill, because that was her incentive. We also memorized the tunnels going to Pittsburgh, because one of the highlights for us growing up was going to visit our grandparents in Pittsburgh. It was the Kittatinny and the Tuscarora and Squirrel Hill and the Liberty Tubes. She had to say them in order, in the correct order, for us to feel like that was a success. So she did develop a very good memory and was a delight to me and to the family. And I'm going to ask for, at this point, for any other family members who want to share any memories of her. And then after that, for people who knew her in her various parts of her life to be able to share memories or thoughts. So I will pass it to Susan and Kumar if you would like to say anything as being part of our family, and then to anyone else who would like to speak. Our plan is approximately an hour of time tonight. All right, I see Susan looking at Kumar inquiringly. Do you want to say anything, Susan? Okay, looks like she does. She's raising her hand. You'll need to unmute yourself, Susan.
There we go. Hi, I'm Kumar's wife, and we're related to Connie in the usual convoluted way that families are made up of these days. The first knowledge I had of Connie was when I was first introduced to Pat, and she said, "Oh, you remind me of Connie, my older sister." And I didn't know what to make of that. But later, when I met Connie, I could see a lot of dissimilarities because she talked and talked and talked. She was such a talker. She could carry on her side of the story for eons. And frankly, I'm not that way. But anyway, she was a delight to listen to. I always felt she had the Irish wit. And I was glad to know what I did of her. We met at their moms several times, and later at Pat and Rogers, and yeah. So and certainly Pat has kept me apprised of what's going on with the rest of the family, and including Connie, and for that I'm immensely grateful.
This is an opportunity for anyone else to share some memories or stories or thoughts about Connie.
I would like to speak.
Say your name.
I'm Leif Myshak, formerly Edward Sahodsky, and that's how Connie got her Sahodsky name. I was a sailor in the Navy when I met Connie, and we got married, and Hawk was our child. Connie when I came out of the Navy, Connie kind of shifted my perspective. This was during the Vietnam War in 1966, and led me into a life of activism. And so I thank her for that. We got arrested together on the Capitol steps in Washington, D.C. with the Quaker Action Group, and we never looked back after that. You're right about Connie being a bookworm, and I'm a farmer, so I'm outdoors a lot, and Connie was indoors reading. She would go to the library and come home with a stack of books, and she'd digest them all in about a week. But it was we were way too young when we got married. We separated amicably, and she moved to New York, and I went on to start an anti-war chapter in Wilmington, Delaware. We've had Connie and I came back together about 10 years ago. I reached out to her and mended fences, and we were friends after that. And I thought something was wrong this year, because on my birthday, I'm a couple months older than her. On my birthday, she didn't send the usual greetings. And then I found out that she was having chronic illness. And I stayed in touch with Hawk in terms of what was coming for her health-wise, but it was a surprise to us because we didn't know the whole story. So I wished her a good life, and it sounds like she had a good life and lots of friends, and that's really all that I wanted to know. I wanted to see her friends and know that she uh, had a full and good life, and she was a very interesting person, and I'm glad she was in my life. Thank you.
I can say something. Connie and I were friends in Western Mass, Olac, for, I don't know, 6 or, oh, no, more than that, for quite some time. From the time she moved into Sunderland and joined our chapter, until she passed. We also were both in the national Olac Zoom crew, and it was fun working together on a variety of planning Zooms with the rest of the group, and being able to get Zooms going during COVID, when people were not able to attend various kinds of meetings around the country. And the whole Zoom crew and planning group worked really, really well together. And Connie always had amazing ideas for things and was willing to facilitate if there was something that she was really interested and knowledgeable about. She was also on our chapter's planning committee for a while, and I enjoyed working with her a lot. Again, with our planning group, and I'm still on our planning group. We're planning events and for our chapter members, and trying now, post-COVID, to have as many in-person events as people are willing to attend, as well as Zooms. I'm going to miss her a lot. I really enjoyed all of the interesting things that she had to say, especially when she left the planning group for our chapter, and we were just, seeing each other in those little Hollywood squares like now, on the Zoom crew. It was just a joy to listen to what she had to say. So thank you. I'm complete.
So my name is Mev. And I also knew Connie through Olac, primarily through the Zoom crew, but I think before that, through chapter coordinators when we were meeting via Zoom for a while. And before that, I think we were even meeting by conference telephone call, which was really annoying. But anyway, Connie was the supportive friend that I never met in person. Didn't really get to know her until we were working together on the Zoom crew, and then we're participating in a radical feminist discussion group for a number of years. But I always felt really close to her. I don't know if it was because of the book thing or because of her um, plain speaking, forward speaking manner, her knowledge. I don't know what it was, but we seemed to click really well together. And she was the supportive friend that usually she was the person who would help me get perspective on something. So if we were done with a meeting and something had happened that I wasn't quite sure about what happened or what was going on, I'd call up and I'd say, Connie, and she'd say, yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right. So I always felt like she was able to give me a different way of seeing things, a perspective, or validate what it was that I was feeling. And I always have appreciated her for that. And then when she's been sick the last few months, I would try to call her pretty regularly just to kind of check in on her to see how she was doing. And the last time I spoke with her, she sounded kind of chipper, like Hawk said. It sounded like she was, and I could never tell if she was not really willing to tell the whole story, not to burden us or anything, but like I knew that something was going on, but I didn't always really know what it was, and I wasn't really sure how she was feeling. But the last exchange I had with her, the last time she came out of the hospital just before she passed, she sounded like she was in really good spirits, and I was grateful for that and shocked when Jean Francis sent me the email the next day and said that she had passed. I was totally floored. And as others have said, there's a hole there. She's going to be missed on the Zoom crew because she was really a vital member of a lot of the things that we had done, and the other groups that I was involved with her. So, and I'm really regret I had an opportunity to see her last fall when I was up in Western Mass, and I don't know, something happened. I don't know if it was the weather or whatever, but we mutually decided not to have breakfast together. And that's a regret that I have, that I never actually had the opportunity to meet her in person, just as a Hollywood square. But she filled up that square remarkably. And I'm really appreciative for her. And it's fun to hear the stories that others have of her to help me understand more about her in ways that I wasn't able to before. So I appreciate everybody's words. Thank you.
Well, I'll share an in-person memory of Connie. I also knew her through OLAC, but when it came time for the pandemic, I didn't. I chose not to do a whole lot of the Zoom stuff. I did as much as I needed, but I felt like she accommodated herself and her needs very well by becoming very active in the national organization, and had a whole life online, which wasn't my choice. But fast forward a couple of years backwards, I mean, in 2018, it was Thanksgiving, and I had an invitation to dinner with some women that I did not know at all. It was just someone I had been volunteering with, and she said, are you doing anything for Thanksgiving? Invited me and could bring a friend, so I brought Connie. Never been to this house before, never met these women before, really, and we walk into this very fancy house. And as you know, Connie was quite class conscious, so it was very uncomfortable. It was one of those situations where they're not really talking to you, they're cooking dinner, there's a TV, you could watch the TV. And I thought, how are we going to endure this? And finally, someone else came, and I don't remember whether she brought the drums or the drums were already there, but Connie went to those drums like a bee to honey, and she started playing them and learning right on the spot how to play the drums. And it made everything so much better. She just lit up the whole gathering, and it just made it a fine event for both of us. So I have a couple of other memories from our camping trips and whatnot, but I'll leave it at that.
Hello, my name's Carol. I was a friend of Connie's. I had the pleasure of serving with her on a planning committee. Really appreciated how smart she was, her great ideas, her perspective on things, and her sense of humor. I really appreciated it.
Well, I'm going to share what little I remember of Connie and her living here, because I had just moved here to Western Mass, probably similar to the time she had moved here. And there was a group of us of about 5 who wanted to see if there was some way, she was living in Sunderland, I was in Greenfield, and was there some way that we could find a space to all live on together, land, a building, and so forth. And as a result, I went down to visit her in Sunderland. And I really remember that visit. And I'm not a bookworm like Connie was, but we sat there and just talked, and then her little cats came out. I remember them. And I'm an animal lover, and so there were so many things like that we did connect on, even though I wasn't the bookworm that she probably loved connecting with. So I do miss her spirit. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? My name's Ward Mulford. I now feel that it was an honor to work with Connie through her ordeal. I only knew her for a couple of months. I wish I had the chance to know her more. What I find is that many critically ill patients get rather introspective and reflective. And we had a lot of time together, driving to different appointments and so forth. And she was very talkative. She spoke about all of you. I feel like I know a lot of you just from conversations that we had. She spoke about Jean and Judy and Joanne and Susan, and certainly Glenn and Pat and her sister Pat. There was a time when, although she was quite ill, but doing better, that she was more concerned about Pat, her sister Pat, than for herself when there was another tragedy in the family that occurred. She had a hard time with that as well, but worked through it. What I can tell you about her is she had so many good things to say about all of you, and especially reflected on how good it was to somehow be reunited with people that she had lost contact with, or that now come back into her life. So we spent a lot of time in the car. It was a bit like driving Miss Daisy to the point where we became friends, and we knew that, towards the end when she was actually getting better. I agree with Glenn. She's, extremely intelligent and can speak about any subject that we would bring up or that she would bring up. and a quite interesting person. I would have liked to have had more time with her. We had clear and frank discussions, about what to do when things got better and what to do when they didn't. And her wishes were carried forth, the day before she passed away, she had a great day, and others haven't talked about that as well. And she was feeling good. She was pursuing her constant request to be able to drive her car again someday. She was a hard worker. I was taking care of a lot of patients, and she worked hard. And to get herself better. Physical therapy, was amazed with her progress. And she did everything she could to get herself well. She faced all of her tests and procedures and ups and downs with courage. And I have a great deal of respect for Connie. And the other thing is that I've seen a lot of families over the years when someone gets this critically ill, and all of the people in this family came together, even though they were far away. Some of them, it all came together for her, and she felt your support. And I think highly of all of you for how you helped her get through this and how you're celebrating her now. So I wish you all, peace and comfort. I'm privileged to have known her, and I know all of you have had a great deal of time with her. So good luck to all of you, and thank you.
Yeah, I would like to speak. Connie and Kathy, who's also on this call, organized a support group for lesbian widows. And I was part of that group for several years. And Connie was just a wonderful support, kept the group going, and added her life story to ours, which was really helpful. And it was an honor to know her and to be a little bit a part of her life. So we will miss her, but I thank her so much for all that she did. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nyla. And I know Connie from having discussed the Lesbian Widows group process with her. And she gave me inspiration about how I might be able to do the same thing, and using Zoom. And from her inspiration, and especially talking about I'm a widow myself, and she gave me lots of support for going ahead and discussing this with Mev to be able to institute yet another offshoot of a lesbian widows support group. And I started a widows support group maybe 2021, I guess. And I guess the group that I started went on without me, but I had disability with my hands, so that it was hard for me to start working the computer again. So I had to take a leave from that, but that group is continuing to meet without a facilitator. But it was Connie that gave me the support and encouraged me to go ahead and start another lesbian widows group. So I certainly do appreciate her so much. And then I moved to Western Massachusetts, and I was able to see her at a I remember when she was discussing that she was about ready to have a surgery on her valves of her heart. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, that's a big deal. And I really wished her well. And I wish I had gotten to know her a little bit better.
Hi, my name is Kathy, and oops. Joanne, go ahead. Okay. I was privileged to know Connie through OLAC and the lesbian feminist discussion, radical lesbian discussion group. And I just felt that she was so knowledgeable, so welcoming, so kind, and very childlike. Her enthusiasm was amazing. And I knew she had some health struggles and things, but she just loved OLAC so much and everything about it. And it encouraged me to be part of the group called Right On. I wasn't able to participate in it because of health issues going on in my family, but I just felt that she really cared for each and every one of us. And I began participation in the group, and I shared that I'm half Latina, and she was always very sensitive to that and would bring it up. Yes, Joanne is half Latina, things like that. And she, her knowledge was, I can understand everything you're saying about her being a bookworm. I know that part of her, she had the elf, she was elf-like, I guess, or identified with elves. And it was adorable in her Irish heritage that she was so proud of, and her working class background. All of that was mentioned and very much a part of who she was. I just found that she was so loving and kind and just so enthusiastic, wanted everyone to just thrive, create, be, enjoy life, despite many of the hardships that are going on right now. But I will miss her dearly. She was our leader, and I will miss her and think about her often. And I will try to get into that Right On group for writers to, just follow up on what she was encouraging me to do. She thought that would be good for me. So thank you. And it was a privilege to know her. My name is Kathy, and I'm sorry that my camera is not working. It's unintentional that you can't see me. Connie started the OLAC Lesbian Widow group with me. I met her through the national OLAC Zoom crew, but we both shared that we were lesbian widows and felt that there was a need for support for lesbian widows. So we decided to start a group and had that group together for 3.5 years. And I found her in both places to be very smart and very perceptive of other people, even on Zoom, which can be a little tough, but also to be very kind, particularly, of course, in a support group. You want that in a support group, and compassionate of understanding how others were feeling, and generous with her time as well. I would often ask her to stay afterwards and just talk about something that had come up, and she would until she needed to go on to her next event. And someone mentioned the word courageous. I think she was very courageous, and that really showed through. So I will miss her.
And I wanted to acknowledge some additional family members who are here with us. My husband, Raj, who is labeled as Pa, which is something that our son did on his Zoom account. And Susan, who is the daughter of Joyce, who was Connie's long-term partner, joining us from, I assume, from New York, Susan. And then also
Yes,
Gabrielle,
Brooklyn, New York. Yeah.
yes. And then Gabrielle Litster was married to my son, and she is currently in Australia. And she's joining us with that beautiful swan icon down in my screen. It's at the bottom of the screen. We have time for additional thoughts and memories of Connie for anyone who would like to share.
I'll say a couple of things. I met Connie when I was probably about 11 years old, and my mother and Connie worked together at a typesetting shop. That's where they met. And she moved in with us. And I always remember my mom and Connie laughing a lot and being very silly. And, there was not, I don't remember them arguing. I don't remember them, being depressed or, I just remember them always kind of having fun. And so I think that was a positive thing for a kid to be around. And then Connie introduced me to her family, and I always remember Gladys, her mother, was always so kind to me, and as well as Pat and Doug and Glenn. And so it was very nice to be, to be invited as part of their family as well. So I always appreciated that. And I also always remember hearing back then Connie in the bedroom typing, because she was a writer. And I always the clicking of the typewriter all the time. And like she just spent every available moment that she had writing and reading. And it's very true about her. She's very, very knowledgeable. And that was just her passion. She just always, and then she got into painting, and, she was always doing something creative and always was soaking up information. And, I guess she was with my mom for probably about 40 years, I guess, or so, something like that. So I did lose touch with her, but I'm glad that I got in touch with Pat, who invited me tonight, and I'm hearing about all of the things that she was doing, which sound wonderful. So thank you all for sharing your stories, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Jean Francis, and am I owned? I can't tell. I met Connie several years ago. We first were in the OLOC group, the Old Lesbians Organizing for Change, and then we were in a book group together. So we got to know each other more. And then here a few years ago, I think it was before COVID, we started this because we were two old lesbians living alone. So we wanted to make sure every morning that each of us was still breathing. So every morning by 8 o'clock, I would get an email from Connie. And then I would get back to her and let her know that I was still here. And then we had this whole system of if she didn't hear from me or I didn't hear from her, we would contact people in our contact list. So I've known her. I've talked to her every day for several years and knew when she went into the hospital. Actually, Carol and I went to Bay State on her birthday, the day of her birthday, and took her some flowers. And Joanne and Susan had sent her a beautiful bouquet, but it was on her 79th birthday and it was pouring down rain. And Carol so bravely drove us to Bay State and we sang happy birthday to her. So I'm glad to see everybody, especially Hawk and Glenn, that I've heard so much about. And I appreciate, and without Ward, I don't know what any of us would have done, because I have macular degeneration, so I couldn't go to Belchertown very often. But I knew everything that was going on all the time, most of the time, either through Connie or through Ward or Joanne and Susan. So I'm going to miss her too every day. And really, Connie died Saturday, March 1st at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think. And we had my little dog euthanized Saturday morning. So it was a sad day and it's been a sad week. So it's good to see everybody here tonight. And Connie was special. What everybody has said, I will ditto and ditto and ditto it. She was wonderful. So, and she was also very, very class conscious, which she and I really had that in common a lot. So Laura, I really appreciate the story you told about your going to the dinner. So anyway, I'm glad that we're here honoring her, and I'm going to miss her. And thank you all very much.
And Jean, she talked about you a lot, and it was always my friend Jean. That was your first name, my friend Jean. She really enjoyed her relationship with you.
Yeah, we became very close, having some contact every day for the last several years, you know, so yeah, she's in my heart always. Okay. And it's nice to see Susan, Joyce's daughter, so that's really special. So yeah, thank you all.
She liked to tell the story, Susie, about living in New York in the apartment with you when you were a teenager. And as she described it, you were less than neat in
I know the story when we got robbed,
your
right?
possessions, right? And then for some reason, the police had to come into the apartment and they thought that
Robbed, yeah,
it had been a
yeah.
burglary. When they looked in your room, they said, oh, they threw everything all over.
Yes.
She loved
But
that story.
yes, it was just my room though, and my mother came home from work. The police had warned her that they ransacked the apartment, and my mother came home and she's cleaning up and she's thinking this isn't so bad, and then she opened my door. Oh, it was Susie ransacked the apartment. Yeah, so. But as you can see, I'm much cleaner now.
I do see that. Yes,
Yeah.
it looks very neat and organized.
Yes, I grew out of that.
It takes a while to grow into ourselves, Susie.
Yes, it does.
And I just want to again reiterate how incredibly wonderful Ward has been through this whole process. I don't know how we would have done it without him. So Ward, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. So
For those of you who don't know what we're referring to, when Connie came through, I believe it was her first hospitalization, she started asking around in the neighborhood, is there anyone who could help her? Because she needed services. She wasn't sure she could cook. And Ward is a retired nurse who lived in the neighborhood, who volunteered to help her as her advocate and
Pat,
became
Pat,
extremely
Pat,
important.
can I interrupt you, please?
Sure.
I called the office when Connie went into the hospital the first time and asked who was there that could help us. And they are the ones that turned us on to Ward. So just to be clear about that, I called the office and started the ball rolling. And without Ward, I don't know what we would have done. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that, Pat, because that wasn't so how you started that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. It looks like you want to say something, Ward, so I'll stop talking.
Well, this isn't really about me, although I appreciate all of the comments that have been made. It was easy to take care of Connie and to help her, just because of the kind of person she was. And I had the skills to do it. So, and there was nobody else. So I jumped in, and we did our best together, but it could have been, it would have been great to have more time. But I was happy to, not happy, but I was, dedicated to doing what I could for her to get her through, the critical, procedures that she was facing. So we should, this is about Connie, not me, but I do appreciate and thank you for the commentary.
I would like to just thank Jean Francis, who really stepped up when Connie needed that help. And, living in Western Mass, we're 20, 30 miles away from each other. And, she really did a wonderful job. Thank you, Jean.
As Ward said, it was easy. She was truly a delight. And she was a writer, she was a wordsmith, she was just all of those things. And it was so wonderful when she was in our book group, because she had read every book that we were reading and had comments, critiques about every one. So it was delightful to have her in our group. So yeah, we're all going to miss her, I think. And Hawk, I'm sorry you didn't get out here before your mama died. I know she was looking forward to a visit from you. So, and Glenn, you saw her more often. So I'm glad that you were holding her hand when she died. And Hawk, know that she talked about you a lot, since she loved you dearly. So.
You're still muted, Glenn. You're still muted, Glenn.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm very it's very good to hear that. And as I say, on you know, February 28th, she sent out this email. She was feeling good. She was looking forward to cleaning up her nest, you know, as you know, her home. And then on Sunday, I got a call. Ward, who's done so much for her and who I want to thank and acknowledge also, said, well, she's back in the emergency room. And then I got another call and he said, it's not looking good. You better get here. And then Patty and I got there post haste. And I actually, in accordance with her wishes, I had to give the order to discontinue life support. And that was extremely difficult to do. I just felt like everything was sort of piling up on me, but it had to be done. And then we were with her. And I'm just going to miss her so much.
I know that she loved Pat's Italian meatballs. Is that what they were, Glenn? Italian meatballs?
Yeah. Yep. We gave her some, well, yeah, my wife was cooking for her. You know, we every time we went up there, you know, we'd bring her a bunch of food. She wasn't eating well enough. And so we made it easy for her. And, you know, meatballs, the soup, a lot of soup, things like that. You know, we just tried to get as much stuff in her as we could. You know, like to thank my wife for that too.
Glenn, I just want to say I know how you feel with the having to make those decisions. And today is actually a 2-year anniversary of my stepmother's death, and I was her health proxy, and I had to also pull the life support on her. And she also died of sepsis. So I definitely understand how you're feeling, and I feel for you. And you know, you did what had to be done, you know. And but I understand how you feel, so I just wanted to say that. Thanks. You're muted, Glenn. I think you're talking, but
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was very difficult, but Ward explained to me in the emergency room exactly what her wishes were, and this was the situation that fit those wishes, and therefore I had to give the order. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, I felt that I'd done the right thing, and I was very, as difficult as it was to be there when she passed away, to be right in her, have her right before me. I knew I'd done the right thing, and I was glad that I was there.
I mean, no matter what you do, you're gonna feel strange about it, you know, if you do it or if you don't do it. And so I'm
Well,
glad I'm glad you were there with her.
it was the right place to be, and it was the right thing to do, and you know, I have a very good feeling about it, as hard as it was.
One of the first times that I talked to Ward, and we talked about Hawk. And Ward said, "What's his name?" I said, "Hawk." So Ward said, "Yeah, I'll be the dove and he'll be the hawk." It was very sweet. So
You're muted, Judy.
I just would like to thank Pat for inviting all of us, Olakians and other non-relatives of Connie's this has been very healing for me, and I trust for everybody else. It's nice, Glenn, to be able to see what you look like, and Hawk also. Jean mentioned that Hawk was her son, and I'm sorry that her daughter couldn't come, but I can understand the distance. And so it is nice to see you also, Susan. Family of all kinds and in various permutations are very, very important. The family that we marry into or choose are very, very precious. And I honor all of you, and I really will miss Connie. I liked her a lot. Thank you.
And JR, do you want to talk about Joanne and Susan, her good friends? Joanne has been very, she's found a good home for Connie's little cats, Panger and Rosina, I think that's how you say it. So, and JR, they're going to be out near JR and her partner. So we're glad that her little cats, who she loved so much, are going to be in an old lesbian home near JR and her partner. So just want to put that in because Connie loved those cats. That's the reason she always wanted to go home for Panger and Rosina. I think I'm saying that right. Rosina was the little spirit cat. So, but I'm so glad that Joanne has really persisted and found good homes for the little cats. I know Connie is very happy about that.
And Joanne and Susan were extremely diligent during each of Connie's admissions, going over and feeding the cats every day, playing with them, giving them attention. I know that Connie was able to relax in the hospital knowing that her cats were receiving good care. That was critical for her. Well, if anyone else would like to share a thought, this would be the time to do it before we wrap up. We have time for any last thoughts that you might have that you'd like to share with the group.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here for sure. It's super hard for me to talk at all, but definitely want to thank Ward for all he did. It was amazing through the whole thing. I would have loved to have met him, and maybe I will someday, but I'm so happy to hear about the cats too, because that's all she talked about for sure. And I've been the same way. I've loved cats ever since the day I was born. So we were so close on so many different things, but that was definitely something that we shared for sure. We always talked about the cats that we had over the years, from as long as I can remember, for sure. So I just really appreciate all of you being a part of our life and being here and sharing all the special moments and everything that everybody did for her. And it's really great to see some people I haven't seen in a long time, like Susan. I remember meeting you for sure. It was super nice. Glad to see you again and glad you're doing well. Yeah, I'm gonna miss her so much. I hope that all of us can be closer now that we've connected through this whole experience. Yeah, I'm always here. Anybody wants to communicate with me. Definitely am always available. Won't be hard to get contact information or whatever. So it's just thank you for everybody. Thanks.
Hawk, how is your shoulder? Your mom was really worried about your shoulder.
Oh, it's not doing well for sure, but if I never got, I don't think Connie ever really got to see my cat, but she actually named my cat, so you guys should all meet her. This is my little sweetie, and it just so happens that Connie named this cat. We were having a hard time finding a name for her, and she's like, "Oh, she's just a little mischief." And so it was like, wow, that's a perfect name for her. And she's turned into a real sweetheart. She's not really a mischief at all, but she's definitely sweet. And I'm sure that she was connected to Connie in some way, even though they never got to meet, because we always talked about the cats every time we talked. I mean, we've talked every weekend for years and years, as long as I can remember. And then, like I said, the last few months we've talked pretty much every day. But yeah, she always asked about mischief, and of course I always asked about her cats. I knew her cats as Tanger and Rue. I didn't ever hear the other. I just always knew her as Rue, was just the little feral cat. But anyway, yeah, this is mischief, and you know, she'll miss her too, even though she didn't get to meet her. So,
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
thank you.
Thank you, Hawk, for introducing us to mischief.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight and sharing your thoughts and your stories and your memories. We'll keep Connie in our hearts. Good night, all.